Dave here. How are you? Today is the 12th of the 12th, 2021. Now today is an interesting date because it doesn't matter if you're in the Northern Hemisphere and you say December 12, or if you're in Australia and other areas that say it the correct way, which is the 12th of December. It's going to keep everyone happy. Now, I trust everyone's well, AV all good. Don't forget the socials. Socials are all done. Thank you very much for that, Peter. Peter is basically my carer. Audio is all fine. Now, what I've done this week is I've turned the microphone down just a little bit, but increased the volume on the software that's running the show. Because I've noticed that even though I managed to get the volume up to the right level, there was a little bit of clipping. Now, it depended on which particular kind of thing I was listening to the show on, whether it was on my phone or whether it was on the computer or on the TV or in the car. It came up at different levels, but I think I'm kind of getting the sweet spot. It's only taken me 7 years. All right, so the run sheet. This week on the show, the new version of the Stanton bench available now, and today I will do the assembly. I've got it here. You've seen a quick picture on the intro, and I say too many times. It's because I'm looking all over the place here at different screens. Is better than don't you feel? Good things do take time. Good morning to everyone here who's Kentucky. Are you getting tornadoes out that way? Oh dear. There's always something happening in the world somewhere, isn't there? Now, where was I? The Mk3, it's a different version. I will go through, obviously it's not the Mk2, it's got to be a different version. I will go through the things that are going to make it different and why it's going to be a more economical solution if you get the plans or if you're actually purchasing a kit from me. And look at these. Whoop. These are the legs that I printed. How cool is that? I'm really tickled with the printer. John has been fantastic. He sent the files up to me and he said, Dave, just knock yourself out, have a ball. Well, he didn't actually say that because John's much more quietly spoken than I am, but that's how I heard him say, here you are, Dave. I'm cheeky. All right. Ben Thompson's finished another project at TAFE and as well as starting a new one, so we'll have a look at that. And Michael House is going to show us his alfresco kitchen bench he built from easy to get materials. And it's come up a treat. Okay, and also, I said but not Also, the quick video on how Vicky made this hat and how the hat block puzzle that I made for her to form this on works. I'll take it all apart. And you can say, we've cheated because you saw a photo of her wearing it already if you're on Facebook and you're a friend of mine on Facebook. I said another I've got to work on that. Is there a trick to doing that? Maybe there is. Right, there you go, I found the answer. Right. I noticed that Johannes punctuates a lot of his talking in that video last week with yeah instead of I might try doing that. That'd be the Scandinavian way of thinking for a second while your brain's engaging to start talking again. And after the show, the Patreon meeting will be on again this week. I didn't have it on last week because it took so long. Look, let's have a look at the result of that drawer that I built last week. I did say that I was going to build some dovetail boxes to drop in there. I decided against that and I just put petitions in and it's come up pretty well. Let's go down to that camera. So here you can see, I don't know if you can see right down to the bottom there. I've also built another drawer. I'm going to do some more stuff. I may even build one more drawer in here in between. But this is the drawer we were working on last week. And there you go. There's Cole's jig. Turn it back to me just a little. Maybe that's better. Cole's jig, some feather boards, things that I use, hinges and ribbon and things like that to work on the boxes. Cole's instructions down here. We've got some backing boards and the spacers, the offsets for doing the fancy style dovetails with the jig. Other templates live in that area there. And then all of the cutters, believe it or not, are in this last bay here, also with a depth gauge for the router. And that's it. It's pretty simple. It took a few hours, but it's finished. And look at that action, isn't that lovely? So I'm very, very happy with that. Come back to here. And this camera. All right, let me have a quick read here. Carl, it was far enough away. This is the tornado he's talking about. Nothing locally. The worst touchdown was a few hundred miles away in western Kentucky. I heard there were 70 deaths through tornado swath. Wow, that's terrible. Eric, morning. Matthew, hi, how are you? And Kiwi's responding to what Carl was talking about just there. Good to see the handles all match. Yes, I also changed the other handle on the router tables, the doors, to access the router underneath. That's enough of the chat. Let's get stuck into it. I will show you quickly the bench. Now, I have put in resin. I did a resin infill here. This is not how it comes. It will just have the standard text scratched in along there with the CNC, and it'll have the C for crosscut, these two for crosscut, this one here and this one here for your ripping points if you're going to put dogs in there to use this for docking. Now, the big thing with this is you get one less thing, but one extra thing, and the extra thing you get is another line of cushion strip here. Now you'll notice on this one, there's a T-track. Well, I've got rid of the T-track and I've replaced it with a cushion strip, and just in front of the cushion strip, I've put a dovetail slot. Now this dovetail slot will take all sorts of things that a lot of people wouldn't have realized. And this is actually a stronger system because you're not relying on the screws in the T-track to hold clamps down. So when I finish putting this together, I will show you how it works. Now I've put 2 coats of whittle wax, hard wax oil, satin on this. And doing that, I didn't have to worry about any getting down in the slots where the cushion strip is going to be glued in. So it's a self-adhesive cushion strip from Festool that I use. There's other stuff out there, but I don't find that they're anywhere near as grippy. This is the stuff that works. I started going down the path of the other stuff, and it'll hold a little bit, but nowhere near as good as this stuff. So I thought, oh, well, you know, it's not a big cost in relation to the whole thing, but it was still a price, but I'm happy with the result. You can see how well it works on this other bench that I've got here. So this is the Mk3. Now, when you've finished, I'll spin it around this way and I'll go to the Carl cam. It's exciting, isn't it? Yeah, let's go to this one. All right, so you can see these are the cushion strips, the points for cross-cutting, which allows me to use the track saw so that the saw cut is off the side of the bench, not on it. This is my big gripe. I've made the bench legs the height to be able to keep this all up to be about 2 millimeters taller than a Cis-1. So I would put a Cis-1 here on, you know, not in the middle of the air and floating on that, but it would catch offcuts. And it works really, really well. If you haven't got a Cis-1, well, there's other ways of doing it. You could make up a little box to handle it. All right, first thing I want to do is sand this one. Now I need to show you how to sand it, just in case you get, there's always going to be some router marks from the CNC when it's running through here. If you're making your own, you may not need to worry about this, but with the CNC, because there's multiple passes cutting that, you're going to have little issues if you're just trying to put the cushion strip straight down to it. It's always a good idea just to knock the tops off And also, if you've hard waxed oiled it and you've got some in there, you can clean it out using a bit of 400 grit paper. This is all I'm using. And I've got a skinny piece of timber. This is possibly 3/8 of an inch wide by around 1.5 inches high and maybe 10 inches long, 11 inches long. So metric, looking about 10 millimeters by 38, 40, whatever, and around 250. Put it on the piece of paper and make sure you pull it up tight. So we're going to have a nice flat section to the base. What we're going to do now is, rather than just go crazy like that, we're going to go very slowly and we're going to angle the paper like this so that we don't, this part here doesn't pick up anything like that. There's a tiny little splinter there off the ply. Now, if I was to just push it along, it would grab that and it would start to tear it. So I'm going to go very slowly. If it's sharp paper, you can do this. Can you see the difference already? Holding it up out of the way. And another run. Just watching, it's not going to catch anything. Done. That's it. That's all I needed to do. Next thing. Next thing is to turn it over. This is pretty easy. Hi Giovanni, how are you? I've just turned it. I've turned it over this direction. I haven't flipped it this way. I've just turned it straight over. Now, that's when we get this part. This is the connecting piece, and this hasn't got anything on it. Doesn't need to have any finish on it at all. And it goes directly at the front here, and you'll notice there's a hole here, a hole here, and a hole here. And they line up with the insert nuts that I've already put in there for you. These are 8mm insert nuts. All right, very important, 8 by 15 is their exact size. That's when we get the legs. And straight away, oh, you'll see, as I said, there's something there. It says this side, this edge to the front. I've done it so that we've got a hole at both ends. So it doesn't matter if it goes this way or this way, but it can't go that way. All right? All right, you'll notice if you do it, there's no hole at the bottom there, but there is a hole following through there. That's very important. All right. Then it's a matter of put the legs in. And screw them down. Easy. Now what this does, I set it up on the machine, on the CNC, so that these are all the same distance in. So you'll feel that's perfectly flush now. Don't try and be Samson, just screw them in. When I make the legs, I put a product on them to lock them into the PLA or the PETG. But if you're printing your own, get some super glue. That's what the product is, and away you go. I'm going to put him in the back as well. Straight up and down, of course, David. So it doesn't take long to put these things together. Make sure you don't cross-thread them. All right. Now you might notice at the front here we've got this step. I might get the other camera and bring it around because that could be very beneficial to see what's happening. I was thinking about setting up another camera, but I thought, nah, I'll just do it. Do it like this. Let's have a look from the other view. That's a whole lot better. There you go. Thanks for the information. You ordered yours last month and love it. Excellent. Okay. So this is upside down and we have this lip here. Now you'll notice when I put the finish on the back of the apron, I put some tape right down here so I didn't get this finish all over this part. This is the part that's going to get glued, so we can take that off. When we turn it around this way and just get it properly. If you forget, it's no big issue. Just get in there with some sandpaper and remove the finish. There we go. I didn't expect this part to be an issue. I guess it's just the, oh, that's coming off nicely. It's where, oh, it might just be cheap tape. I'm making excuses. You can see the difference in the colour there, possibly. Down here you can see it. All right, so again, we have the dovetail slot here instead of the T-track. So it's right there, and I better give those a quick sand as well. Won't take long. As I said before, I'm keeping the paper just away from the edge of the plywood. The tape will still stick, but you know what I'm like. I'm a little bit fastidious. Done. All right, now we just put it on top. And you'll notice there's a gap, and that's fine, because that's where the cushion tape is going to go, the cushion strip. Make sure that you're lining up the ends perfectly. I'm going to pull it slightly forward. So it's hanging over the front a little. All right. Now we can go one of two ways here. We can drill holes straight away and then put screws in to hold it steady, or we can put glue on there straight away, clamps, and then put the screws in. But I think it's safer to do it this way, and that is put this on. That's sitting nicely. I'm not giving it to it too much. I'm just sitting the clamps there. This is, at the moment, this is exactly the same way as when I'm doing the Mk2. I've got to bump that along just a little bit. Again, I'll use a rubber mallet in this situation, just a tap. That's good. What's the other end like? Of course it's good because that's how it was done. Now I'm going to put a hole in a pilot hole. Oh, sorry, a clearance hole in the middle. So I'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 7. So I'm going to go do the center one to start, which is the middle. It's very easy to spot. So we've got holes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's in between those two, and it's going to be right there. In the center. Now, before I do anything else, I'm going to put a screw in there. Now I'm using, excuse me a second, I'm using these guys, 1¼ pocket screws, because they're very sharp and they'll pull up quickly. They're not going to stay there. I'm going to take them out. They've got a nice big washer head on them. Let's give it some more business than that. You can see that's pulled it in beautifully. This is the advantage of doing this prior to the gluing. We're going to do a whole different system as far as that's concerned in a second. All right, I'm going to do the end. Don't go too far away from the end. If you come in too far, what's going to happen is you won't have this mechanical bond. This is what we create. These are all going to be dowels, or you can do it with a domino, or you can do it with biscuits, whatever you want. I'm going to use dowels. I'm going to use 8mm dowel. So I'm going to come in around about 30mm. And now I can drill all of the holes because this screw here is located everything. It can't move sideways while I'm doing the rest of the holes. I think around about the center and the center. Yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go every second hole, or every second set of holes. So I've gone 1, 2, 1, 2. I'm going to go in between the next one. And in the middle. You don't have to be too accurate with this, just as long as you're going to be very, very close to the middle. It doesn't have to be spot on the middle, because we're going to drill an 8mm hole through there soon for the dowel. So 1, 2 holes, and then in the center. One, 2, and center. And then near the end, but not too close. We don't want to delaminate the plywood. All right, I don't need, well, I think I will. I was going to say I don't really need to put any more screws in, but if we do the screws now, what's going to happen is that will stop the screw pushing this out when we do the glue. And if it pushes it out while we do if we put the glue in and then put the screw in after, before we do put the screw in all the way in at the beginning, I'm sounding really confused here. I'm not trying to confuse it. Did you see how this moved out a little bit and then pulled all the way in tight? When it pushed it out, it pulls out a little bit of wood from the plywood on the other side, and that will end up staying there and lodged. So we're going to do all of this first, put all the screws in, take it out, clean off those little bit of lodged stuff, put the glue in, then put 1 screw back in, maybe 2, and then we'll start drilling for the 8mm dowels. Got it? Won't take long. Once we've got it glued, we'll have a look at some viewers' projects. It just pulls it in nicely. Sorry to sound a little bit befuddled there, but without having a lot of time to think about it, whilst I'm doing this live, I'm trying to focus on a couple of things at once. Beautiful. All right, now I can take them all out. They can be warm, so be aware. Yeah, I've had people buy these benches off me and ask if I could actually assemble it for them, and I said not really. You might be in another part of the country, and I'm not going to travel there, and to post them when they're assembled is a whole lot more because of the size they're taking up. Okay, now you can see there's little bits of dag here. And on the back, there's little bits where the screws come through. So I just want to clean those off. They bump off pretty easily. And what I'm going to do as well is I'm going to put tape along there while I've got it on. In the other video, the assembly video, what I've said, let's move this back a little bit further. In other assembly videos, I've said to draw a line along here and take all of this off. But, yeah, that was before. Make sure we don't get that on the edge there. Pull that up just a little. That'll do me. Excellent. All right, glue. I'm going to use the strongest quick glue that I've got, which is the Type 1-3. I could use West Systems, but I think that's going to be overkill. I could use epoxies of, where do you stop? This stuff will do it when I get all the dags off. That's why God gave us fingernails, isn't it? Got it. All right. Well, I'm going to try, no I'm not, that'd be suicide. I'm going to put it on this, this part here. Now I've got to make sure this is the back, yes it is, and I've got that, there's a mark there, turn this around just a bit more this way. I can see the light in the dark from where the finish is and the finish isn't, so should be pretty good. I could also put tape along there. I've got some dag caught in the glue, of course I have. But I'm not going to. I will get a brush, so I've just cleaned that out. I have a butterfly hanging around in here with me this morning. So if you see him fly past you, it's okay, not to worry. That's better. You see him go past just then? It's cute, isn't it? Now, there's no real reason to put glue on the other surface. As soon as we start pulling those screws in, it's going to pull it tight. Okay, spin her around. And I'm going to put it there. There's no real need for us to put the clamps pulling down anymore. This will be fine. The screws back in, because they're going to go straight into the previous hole. Done. And one at the end. All right, now I've created a moth, or it was a moth. I'm going to have a quick read. Dave, this video takes me back to when I put my Stanton bench together. Good times. Good, good. Great, John. Butterfly warm in here, just help me bring the green in for me. Okay, now I'm going to get a square and do a quick check on the back. You're not going to get much better than that. Take my word for it, it's very, very square. All right, now I left these holes open. I'm going to drill them out with this, but before I drill it out, I've already cut some dowels and prepared them. Just chamfered the edges a little bit, or the ends I should say. I'm going to put some tape on this as a flag so I know that I've got it deep enough. Because on the previous models, what I'd said to you to do was put them in and then cut them off with a flush cut saw. You don't really need to if you set the dowels in the right depth. This is called advancement, I guess. So I get a bit of tape, about that long. Tear it off, put the dowel on there, and at the same time have the tape ready. I'm going to go slightly deeper. Now the thing is to leave it out like that. That's why they call it a flag. How cool is that? All right, so I'm going to drill down till I get there. Make sure you're not doing this or this or this or this. Just nice and straight. I could possibly be using a sharper drill bit, but this is okay. One. Two. Now some more glue and put it on the dowel. I don't have any slots on this dowel. I should really. Do you want to know how to do a slot a dowel? I'll do that while I'm going. It's best to do this before you actually cut the dowels. You get a marking gauge and go to half the diameter of the dowel. And you can cut some slots. That'll be enough. They're there if you don't believe me. All right, a bit of glue on it. Not too much, because it's a tight fit. and it's going, you don't want it to get to the end and be an issue. Until it's home. Done. If you don't have slots, sometimes what can happen is as the glue goes to the end, the glue starts to compress, and if it can't come back up the dowel, it's going to split the surfaces open. And I'm hoping that's not going to happen, because that would be a tragedy. Just the smaller slots will allow it to work. Just line it up with the previous slot you've created. And possibly don't put any across the end. You see how I put some on the end on the last dowel? That was a bad move. Shouldn't have done it. I hope that one hasn't gone all the way up. We'll see what happens when I take that off. Done. Now I can remove the ones beside it. And if I wanted to, I could put another hole beside it, and I think I will. Just to keep the pressure on it. And this one. About there. So you understand why I'm doing this? This is because these have been clamps. And this is going to hold it while it's drying. If I wanted to, I could drill holes right beside these ones as I was doing it, but enough is enough, David. Bear with me while I get this done. There's not a lot more to do. You know what, the domino is a whole lot easier to do this because it's held dead straight. This one, I've got to rely on my micrometer eyes, which aren't great. I get the job done mostly. That's going well. Next one. If the dowel you bought has already got glue slots in it, well, you're away. Swinging in the breeze. Right, last couple. Oh, sorry, this one I've got to do, and these last ones at the end. I think these 2 screws here at the moment are going to be enough. I may change my mind. I've been known to do it before. All right, down the middle. And the last one, my back to you, sorry. Cool. I'm guessing there's a whole heap of chat happening here. Let me have a look. I just buy, you buy new drill bits. Yeah, that's clever. It's ironical that I'm building a new Stanton bench on a Stanton bench. They're handy. They're bloody handy. Very handy. Could you use a pocket hole for this step? Cameron, probably not. It's not going to be as strong. The glue is going to do all the work, but the thing is, the dowels are a mechanical bond, so they're to help under stress situations. The pocket holes just aren't going to be as good as doing this way. I am using pocket hole screws though, you saw that. How many have we got left here? Done, 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 done. One to go. So after this part, we'll have a look at what's happening with the viewers project. I think we're going to go well today on timing because it's just about finished. It really is. It just shows you how quick it is to put it together yourself at home. Done. All right, I'll give that a quick wipe off. I'll probably just use this block as a screed. That's really nice. It's come up well. All right, move these things out of the way. So it was minimal fuss, minimal tools. I'm trying to do it so that people that aren't as fortunate or don't have the same inclination to buy a whole lot of tools like I've got, this is going to, said again, this is an easy solution on how to do it. There we go. Lovely. That's good. This tape I'm going to take off when I undo those legs while the glue's drying. Let's go to Carl cam. Where are we? Not too far. Now, if you find that it's sitting slightly forward, just get a hand plane and plane it before you put the apron on, like before you put the tape on the apron. There is meant to be a gap. There is definitely a gap here between here and here. So that's around 2 millimeters deep there. So when you put it together, you might go, oh wow, look at this big step. It's probably 2.5 millimeters, and it's not going to have any real effect on how the bench works. But if you want it to get absolutely flush, the reason I do it this way is because sometimes I'll use 18 mil or sometimes I'll use 3/4 inch ply, and there's a 1.5 or just over a millimeter's difference. So it's pretty hard to get it absolute. And it's a very simple matter. Just give it a quick plane if you need to. But that's sitting quite nicely. And that's pulled up nice and tight at the end. And the same at this end. That's looking good. All right, I've been talking to the wrong camera, haven't I? Ha. Oh dear. Dave, sorry Dave, can't see the gap is. Of course you can't, because I don't have the camera on the right one, do I? So what I was talking about, back here. Here to here. I use 18 mil ply, sometimes I'll use 3/4 inch ply, which is a little bit thicker. Hence this sits out just a touch if I'm using 18. If it was 3/4, it sits perfectly flush. There is a gap here from there back down to there because this is where the cushion strip goes in. And when the cushion strip goes in, it will fill this space, even with the 18. So it's no real big drama. It's just that I'd like to let people know that if there's something happens, they go, oh my goodness, it's okay. And if you want to, it's just a matter of run a hand plane along there a couple of times to get this surface flush with this, if it's an 18. It's not a biggie, it really isn't. If you wanted to, you could run it over a jointer and get the same result. Why don't I do it? Good question. Because it hasn't really been an issue for me to be concerned about, and I've never had anyone come back to me and say, this step's there. Well, we're talking about a fraction of a millimeter. It's just me. I'm funny like that. All right, now let's have a look at a viewer's project. Why not, I hear you say. So we have down to here, we got Ben Thompson's desk. I'm trying to find my pieces of paper. Ben, new viewers project, TAFE project number 2, shaker hallway table. Let's have a look. So through tenon joinery on face and end, tapered legs and integral faced drawers, all Vic Ash except for pine drawer carcasses. Let's have a look through. This is the legs waiting to get sliced down on the saw to be tapered. And there they are on the sliding panel saw at TAFE. And then the next one we've got is the cabinet assembled, and Ben's got a sash clamp across the diagonals to pull it square if it was just ever so slightly out. And then next one, there's the drawers that he's got waiting to go. They're all pine, he was saying, instead of Vic Ash. Then we've got, you can see from the side, the tenoning and the inside the supports for the drawers themselves. So Ben's done the drawers in a way where he's routed out a slot in the side of the drawer. And you can see here as well that there's a step back on that front face panel, the step back from the legs. And this is a really nice job, Ben. And now you can see the side of the drawer where the router slot is. And you can see that the fronts of the drawers are now flush with the front of the leg, I think. And then the next one, a little bit closer up. Now, Ben, you cut all those pieces out of the one board, didn't you? Very clever. And this is armed with his spray gun. He says, finished in satin Feast Watson, clear, varnished thin, 20% and sprayed on. And also it is claimed by 9-year-old doing the presentation like in Sale of the Century as his new computer homework desk. And he looks very happy with it. Good on you, Dad. That's great, Ben. I love to see that. Big progress, success in my third and final TAFE project today. So let's have a look at that. There's a little bit of a video here. This is glued, routed and test fitted spotted gum tambour doors. Have a look at this. Come back up to here. We've lost everything. Back again. So what do you think of that? That's really, really nice. Thanks for sending that in, Ben. If you've got a project as well, like Ben had there, send it in and we'll throw it up on the show as a viewer's project. Where are we up to now? So Groovejet's making his normal style of comment, giving a little bit of a slap on the back, but, well, you know, watch out for this. There you go. All right, next thing to do. Next thing to do is we're going to put the cushion strip on the top here. And then it's just about finished, ready to use. Before I do the cushion strip, what I might show you is, and we'll go to Carlcam for this, the dovetail slot. Now, why have I put a dovetail slot here instead of the T-track? These things here, these are a dovetail clamp. There's all sorts of different clamps that you can buy, but that goes in there nicely and it holds itself up. And to clamp something down, I was concerned it was going to tear the dovetails out either side. I might go to the side camera for this one and bring it in tight. I'll explain it, how it's working. So when you're tightening this, it's not going anywhere and it's not lifting a T-track. You see that? It locks it in really solid. It's just amazing. There's no damage to the dovetail underneath or the bench. It's just looking great. There's a bit of glue on that. That's what I was wiping off there. But because it's got the hard wax oil on it, it's not going to worry it. So it's pulling against itself. I'll pull this out and I'll show you. So this is 14 degrees, so is the dovetail that I've created in the bench. So when you're pulling it up, it's bearing on all of the side there and it's pushing down directly on top of itself and also compressing this. It's not wanting to pull it up because the clamp is back here somewhere. That's the problem I was having with the T-track. And I let people know, don't clamp too tight because you're going to start flexing the track up out of the channel that I created for it. Never had an issue, but over time, it does wear it out a little bit. Now, if you've already got one of those from me, what you can do, and also if you want to use a bench clamp on this model, you can still do that by using this thing. Now, this is something that John and I developed a while ago, and then all of a sudden Craig came out with a similar thing. So it's a good idea, and how you do it is you take out the 5/16 bolt, mushroom or dome head bolt that comes with the Craig clamp, or with the Craig bench clamp. I'm going to move it down the end here so I can reach into it, so I'll show you exactly how it works. Then a 5/16 1.5" bolt in one of John's beautiful covers there. You can't use the 8mm because it's a different size. And then you tighten it up. So now it rotates and holds down super powerful. So you've still got all of these dog holes everywhere to be able to mount something like this. And there's no flex. We went through a few different designs on this base plate. First couple started cracking, but this one, John put a metal plate in there, and it's really, really good. It resists the pressure of the back of the bench clamp pushing down onto it. So it's just magic. So this bench is going to give you the best of both worlds. This is going to give you the capacity to still use bench clamps, and you can still use those on any of my benches using something like that, or the Craig's version if you want to. I might put a link in the description box down the bottom for the Craig version of this. And now you can also use the dovetail here and also across the front. And they sit there, they don't drop. And of course, you can use the same kind of thing through there. The thing is, you have to hold this a little bit while you're clamping. Where with the dovetail, you don't have to hold it. It just stays there and you just push in because it's got a seat for it to push down against. Notice when I put it through the hole, I had to actually retain the clamp back this way so it didn't push itself all the way under the bench. So I thought this is going to be a slightly, it may not even be a better model. It's a different model, even though it's a very, very small difference. All right, next thing. Like a building motions, also with plastic bench clamps. I routed a T-track into one of my benches, holds up well so far. Good. Now, I'm doing this upgrade to my Stanton bench. Love the micro jig system and its flexibility. See, these things, you can do this to any of the benches I've already done. If you've got one of my benches, you can put this track, this slot. So how I did that was I used a 3/8, a 3/8, I think it was. No, it might have been a 1/4 inch. Could have been a 1/4 inch. Router cutter, and went straight down the center with using a guide. And you know what? You can use this guide. This is the one that was on Thingiverse, and you know, I can print these up. And if you want one, well, just send me a message, and I might be able to get one out to you. Anyway. So you can set that up using a Festool track saw, or Festool track guide rail, I should say, and then have a trim router in there. So this is the DeWalt trim router that I've got that I use. Lines up on the centers there, and then you put the dovetail cutter in, 14 degree with a 1/2 inch base on it, and you go down 3/8 of an inch. Do the dovetail slot. Clear the hole out. It's nice. Why get mine instead of make your own? Well, I give you really nice wood, and these things the holes are super accurate. You haven't got to go and buy something like a path guide, but if you wanted to, yep, go and get one and make your own. The plans are available on Etsy. I've got and also on my website, stantonbench.com.au. Links in the description box down the bottom of this video, pointing to them now. Let's come back to this camera here. And let's have a look at, it's 12 o'clock, let's have a look at a viewer's project. I'll put one piece of tape in after that, and then we'll have a look at Vicky's hat block, close the show up, and then we'll have the Patreon meeting. All right, so the next thing is, just looking at this. This is all ready to put together. All I'm going to do is take those 2 screws out, and then I'm going to put the cushions tape along the top, and then the whole thing is basically finished. It's dead easy to put together. All right. The other viewer is Michael House. Michael says, "Hi Dave, another enjoyable year almost over. You were demonstrating Craig drawers, so I thought I would send you. My latest project was to replace an old sink on the deck with a newer model. Our hesitancy was what materials to use for the build. In the end, I built a carcass, and for the moment, the top and 2 ends are 30mm thick ply from the big green store. These can be replaced down the track if necessary, but did come up nicely with the sand and some Sickens Satin Plus 003 that I had left over from another job." I love this. The drawer fronts were made from 18mm pine laminator panels, also from the big green store. Hadn't any experience with plumbing until now, and not wanting to pay a plumber, I built around the pipes that were there, but move the sink to the right hand end to gain more bench space. I've followed your easy draw building method many times, and this was no exception. All right, let's have a look at some of the pictures that he sent in for me. Michael. So there is the old sink. Micro jigs make a router for ploughing the slots. The only problem with that, Carl, I'm just going to jump in there, is that's a 1/2 inch shank. So you want a 1/4 inch shank if you're going to use a trimmer. And there are those bits available. I will give you a link, one of my links, which is an affiliate link. I make no apologies for that. We all have to live somehow. Now, here he is. He says, there's an old sink left over, blah, blah, blah. Using the Craig in the garage. And so he's got the Craig jig set up and the dust extraction port on it. And then we've got, luckily, I have a saw stop bench, so most cuts are accurate. And here we go. This is outside. Plenty of Craig screws used in the construction. The carcass is built on 8 wheels and although heavy, is easily moved once disconnected from water and waste pipe. The carcass is longer than the previous model and will contain 9 drawers. So some were shortened for the plumbing. Top right drawer is a fake. Let's have a look at the next page. There you go. There's the plumbing. All the drawers fitted. Michael, this is lovely. The wife is happy, so am I. There's all the drawer fronts on the unit. And then I think the last thing is going to happen is he's going to put the end panels on. And there they are. There's the end panels unpainted. Outside, a couple of stools there. The sink's outside. I think that's the kitchen window. So you can serve straight out the window onto that bench and then tidy up and do all of the other stuff that's very important outside when you're having a barbecue or friends over for a meal outside al fresco. Since I've been following your show, Dave, I've learned heaps and spent a lot of money at Carpet Tech, which has kept me busy during the virus time. Not only is your show helpful and full of knowledgeable tips, it's so nice to converse with other like-minded woodworkers. Cheers and stay safe. Well, that is very, very nice of you to say that, Michael. Thank you very much. I hope everyone else is enjoying it as well. Let me have a look down here. Love the blue. Very nice. Looks great. Doesn't it look great? Now, the next thing I was going to do was show you the hat block. And I'm going to take it apart on the show, but I will show you the construction. And I'll probably try and talk through it at the same time. Where are we? Vicky's hat block. Don't tell me I haven't done it. Surely there. There it is. Found it. Don't panic. Here we go. Now the first thing she did was buy pure wool. Pure wool is important. Then she knitted the shape and then she's not bad at the old knitting, and then threw it in the washing machine with the rest of the wash, and it comes out mangled, of course. Then it's a matter of put it in the mold. Here we go. So putting it in there was also a challenge, and we had to work out how to do it in that manner so that we didn't deform anything. You can see how Vicky really had to push hard to get those last pieces in. I could possibly do a little bit better design, but it's done now, so it's fine. And of course at the end we'll have her modelling the hat, and then I'll pull this part apart and you can have a look. She loves it. And I've had people from the States say, Dave, where can I get them? It's crazy. All right, what do you think of that? Okay, now what I did was coated this with lanolin. Thought it might work well. It was suggested by Wayne, I think. So down in the center there is the bolt that locks the cylinder to the tapered, the flange part. We didn't have to go crazy with the bolt. Let's just do that, lift it up, and there's the bolt and all the locating dowels that we put in, remember? I'll pop this over here. Now Vicky would be able to make a taller hat if she wanted to. All right, so there it is, and nothing has been deformed. Let's go to this camera up the top here, the CalCam HD. There we go. Now if I look in here, I'll be able to see that this side, and I'll lift this up a little bit, you can see that's the taper. It's just a matter of lift that, and out it comes. This one, same kind of thing. Out it comes. And then I roll one of these pieces over and lift. And then drag it to the middle. And remember that radius that I said? This radius here had to be the same radius as the cylinder that went down the middle at the top point. So that distance there, yeah, that's how it works. I'm sure it does. Well, it worked, you can see here. And then the last one out, and then the washer that we made at the top with the nut in it. And that's bloody magic. And so there's the hat. And I haven't tried it on myself. Let's give it a shot. There we go. Do you dare me to wear it to the pub? Dave, there you go. I have put it on. Oh dear. Anyway, it looks a whole lot better on Vicky than it does on me. All right. I think that's going to be it, guys. I'll check my run sheet. So we had a project from Ben, we had a project from Michael, project from my girl, and my project. I'll show you a couple. Also, during the week, or last weekend, I was asked to take a couple of photos for the cricket club down at Sydney University. So I thought I'd just throw you a couple up. This is what I used to do professionally, so there's a lot of money I invested in the gear to do this. I was doing it for 10 years. They've come up pretty decent. Here you go. So that's not too bad. I really enjoy getting the camera out and doing that kind of stuff. It's one of those things, buy once, cry once. You know, if you think you're going to use something for a long time, get the quality and you'll be happy using it every time you pick it up rather than just have that feeling in the back of your head, oh, I wish I had. I wish I had. Obviously, it all depends on your financial situation as well and if you're able to make a buck out of it as well. Anyway, everyone, thank you very much for watching. If you're wanting one of these benches, give me a shout either by email or jump onto the website. Probably just send me an email. The email links are in the description box down the bottom. And don't forget, Ash is there saying some nice comments. And don't forget to see his Monday meetups. So it's where he interviews someone for about 10 minutes on a Monday night. I think it's around 7 o'clock. Is it still, Ash? And it's interesting to see what other people are doing. All right, we've got the Patreon meeting in a couple of minutes. I've got to grab a cable and finish drinking this coffee, then I'll turn it on. Thank you very much, and see you next week. Last show for the year, I think, next week. We'll see how we go. I may be a little bit late. I've got a Christmas party to attend Saturday night, so I'm going to have to weather that. See you next time. Bye.